Paulie talks a lot about loyalty, respect, and old school rules, but most of the time his loyalty is also practical. Tony controls his money, his position, and his place in the family. If Paulie stays on Tony's good side, he stays protected. If he goes against Tony too openly, he risks losing everything. That is why Paulie almost always backs Tony in public. He may complain behind his back, he may get jealous, he may feel insulted, he may even secretly resent Tony. But when the room is watching, Paulie usually knows what to do. He supports the boss because that is how the life works, and because Paulie is not brave enough or powerful enough to stand on his own. Paulie is not like Junior, who once had his own power base. He is not like Ralph, who earns so much money that he can sometimes push his luck. Paulie is an older soldier who has been around a long time, but he is not built to be boss. He needs someone above him. He needs the structure. He needs the title. He needs the family to keep working, because without it, Paulie does not have much else. That matters because Paulie's personal life is empty. He has no wife, he has no children. He does not have a normal home life. His identity comes from being Paulie Walnuts. His entire value comes from being known in the crew. The jokes, the stories, the reputation, the envelope, the rank, all of that only matters because he is part of Tony's world. So when Paulie defends Tony, he is also defending the only world where he matters. That does not mean Paulie loves Tony in a pure way. He does care about Tony, but his loyalty is mixed with fear and self-interest. Paulie wants Tony's approval. He wants Tony to laugh at his jokes. He wants Tony to notice him. He wants Tony to see him as useful. But he also knows Tony can be dangerous. Tony can punish people. Tony can cut people off. Tony can decide someone is no longer worth keeping around. Paulie respects Tony, but he is also scared of him. That is why Paulie's loyalty has limits. He usually takes Tony's side when Tony's power helps him. But when Tony makes Paulie feel ignored, disrespected, replaced, or unsafe, Paulie starts thinking about himself first. That is when he stops being loyal and becomes sneaky. The clearest example is Paulie talking to Johnny Sack. This is the biggest time Paulie does not really take Tony's side. While Paulie is in jail, he feels like Tony and the crew are not showing him enough attention. He feels forgotten. He thinks he has given his life to the family, and now that he is locked up, people are moving on without him. That hurts Paulie because he is very needy. He wants constant respect. He wants constant proof that he still matters. Johnny makes Paulie believe that New York respects him. He makes Paulie think Carmine knows who he is and values him. Paulie likes that because he feels underappreciated in Jersey. So he starts talking too much. He gives Johnny information, including the joke Ralph made about Ginny Sack. That creates major problems between New York and Jersey. This is not Paulie being loyal to some higher rule. This is Paulie being bitter. He hates Ralph. He feels Ralph gets special treatment because Ralph earns a lot of money. Tony puts up with Ralph because Ralph is profitable, and Paulie cannot stand that. Paulie thinks Ralph is disrespectful, weird, and dangerous, but Tony keeps protecting him because of money. So Paulie goes around Tony by talking to Johnny. That is one of Paulie's worst betrayals because he does not just complain. He gives another family information that hurts Tony's business. He acts like he is being respected by New York, but really Johnny is using him. The humiliating part is when Paulie later realizes Carmine does not even know who he is. Paulie thought he had a special connection with New York. He thought he was important. Instead, he finds out he was just useful. That moment explains Paulie very clearly. He betrays Tony because he wants respect. Then he comes back toward Tony because the other side never really respected him either. Another time Paulie does not fully take Tony's side is the Vito situation. When Vito is exposed as gay, Tony does not immediately want to kill him. Tony is disgusted, but he also knows Vito earns a lot of money. Tony is trying to think practically. He knows killing Vito may satisfy the crew, but keeping Vito alive may be better financially. Tony is not being kind. He is mostly thinking about business. Paulie does not see it that way. Paulie wants Vito punished. He reacts with anger and disgust. To Paulie, Vito being gay is not just Vito's personal issue. Paulie sees it as an embarrassment to the whole crew. He thinks it makes all of them look weak or ridiculous. He cannot accept Tony hesitating because in Paulie's mind, the rules are obvious. This is one of those moments where Paulie sides more with the old mob attitude than with Tony's business thinking. Tony is willing to bend because Vito earns. Paulie wants the rule enforced because the rule makes him feel secure. Paulie does not like change. He does not like gray areas. He does not like situations where Tony acts like money matters more than the code, but even here, Paulie does not directly challenge Tony in a serious way. He complains, he pushes, he agrees with the others who want Vito gone, but he does not try to lead a rebellion. That is important. Paulie can disagree with Tony, but he still does it from inside Tony's authority. He is not trying to become boss. He is trying to pressure Tony to act the way Paulie thinks a boss should act. Another major example is Christopher. Paulie usually takes Tony's side, but Christopher is different because Tony favors Christopher in a way that bothers Paulie. Christopher is younger. Christopher is related to Tony by marriage. Tony treats him like a future leader for a long time. Christopher gets chances that other people would not get. He has drug problems, emotional problems, and discipline problems, but Tony keeps forgiving him. Paulie resents that. Paulie does not like seeing Christopher treated as special. He thinks Christopher is weak, spoiled, and too protected. He also knows Christopher has Tony's affection in a way Paulie does not. Paulie may be close to Tony, but he is not family in the same way. Christopher is. That makes Paulie jealous. So when Paulie goes after Christopher, he is also pushing against Tony's choice. He is basically saying through his behavior that Christopher is not worthy of the position Tony gives him. He mocks him. He provokes him. He steals from his father-in-law's hardware store. He pushes the joke too far at the Bing after Christopher's daughter is insulted. Paulie treats Christopher like someone who needs to be knocked down. This is not a direct betrayal of Tony, but it is still a way of not taking Tony's side. Tony wants Christopher to be important. Paulie keeps treating Christopher like a joke. Tony sees Christopher as someone who might carry the family forward. Paulie sees him as an addict who gets special treatment. The sad part is that Paulie is not completely wrong about Christopher being unstable. Christopher really is dangerous. He really is unreliable. He really does create problems. But Paulie's reasons are not clean. He is not just worried about the family. He is also jealous and petty. That is why the Paulie and Christopher conflict is so important. Paulie is loyal to Tony, but only as long as Tony's decisions do not make Paulie feel smaller. Christopher makes Paulie feel smaller because Christopher has a place with Tony that Paulie cannot have. So Paulie attacks him. There are also smaller moments where Paulie protects himself instead of taking Tony's side. And remember when Tony clearly suspects Paulie may have been the one who told Johnny Sack about the Ginny joke. Paulie knows he is in danger. During the trip to Florida, Tony keeps bringing up the old situation, and Paulie gets more and more nervous. He does not confess because he knows Tony might kill him. That episode shows that Paulie's loyalty has always had fear inside it. Paulie acts loyal, but when his own life is on the line, he lies. He does not tell Tony the truth. He does not take responsibility. He just tries to survive the conversation. That is Paulie in his most basic form. He wants to be seen as loyal, but he will protect himself first if the truth might destroy him. The same thing happens in smaller money situations. Paulie often complains when he feels he is not getting enough or when he thinks someone else is getting better treatment. He is loyal to the family, but he is also cheap, greedy, and insecure. If Tony's decision costs him money or status, Paulie starts grumbling. He may still obey, but emotionally he is not always with Tony. That is the real pattern. Paulie takes Tony's side when Tony represents order, protection, and status. Paulie does not take Tony's side when Tony makes him feel ignored, embarrassed, threatened, or replaced. That is why his loyalty is complicated. It is not fake, but it is not noble either. Paulie really does believe in the chain of command. He really does respect Tony's position. He really does see himself as an old-school soldier. But Paulie also has a huge ego, and that ego is easy to bruise. Once he feels disrespected, he starts justifying selfish behavior. This is why Paulie is funny and disturbing at the same time. He can act like a loyal soldier one minute and then secretly cause trouble the next. He can talk about rules while breaking them. The contradiction is the character. Tony understands this about him. Tony knows Paulie talks too much. He knows Paulie can be selfish. He knows Paulie is not as solid as he pretends to be. But Tony keeps him around because Paulie is part of the old crew and because Paulie usually knows how to behave when it matters. Most of the time, Paulie will stand where the boss needs him to stand. But Tony never fully trusts him. That is important. Tony may depend on Paulie, but he also sees the weakness in him. He sees the fear. He sees the insecurity. He sees the way Paulie needs attention. And in Remember When, Tony comes very close to deciding that Paulie is more trouble than he is worth. That is probably the clearest summary of Paulie's relationship with Tony. Paulie needs Tony more than Tony needs Paulie. Paulie's loyalty keeps him alive, but his insecurity almost gets him killed. So when people ask why Paulie always takes Tony's side, the answer is simple. Because Tony is the source of Paulie's position. Paulie's life only works if Tony's authority holds. Paulie is not independent enough to survive as his own power. His best move is to stay close, agree often, complain privately, and act loyal in public. And when Paulie does not take Tony's side, it is usually not because he has a better moral argument. It is because he feels personally wounded. With Johnny Sack, he feels ignored and underappreciated. With Vito, he feels the rules are being weakened. With Christopher, he feels replaced and disrespected. With the Ginny Sack secret, he lies because he is scared Tony will kill him. Those moments show who Paulie really is. He is loyal until loyalty costs too much emotionally. He is old school until old school rules hurt his own interests. He believes in Tony's authority, but he also resents the fact that he needs it. That is the first big payoff. Paulie survives the show because he usually chooses safety over pride. But the reason that survival feels so empty is that by the end, almost everyone he tried to outlast is gone, and all Paulie really has left is the same life he was always afraid of losing.